Welcome back, everybody. This is Mrs. Venti. Today we are going to work on the difference of squares. We are doing Platinum Math, grade 10. We're going to work on exercise 9, which is on page 18. Now, exercise 9, question 1 says 3 to the power of 6 minus 1. And our instruction is to express each of the following as a product of its prime factors without using division or without using a calculator. So the answer that I want to have is going to be prime numbers multiplied by its one another, right? How do I do this? The first thing that we are going to do is we observe what we see, and I notice first thing, difference of squares, right? So I'm going to do a difference of squares, which gives me two brackets. Inside the bracket, I've got a plus and I've got a minus. And then I'm going to do 3 to the power of 3 on both sides and 1 to the power of 1 on both sides. So the first thing that we did was a difference of squares. Now the next thing that we are going to do is let's expand the exponent, okay? So we are going to multiply the exponent out. So I've got my two brackets. 3 to the power of 3 is 27. So this becomes 27 plus 1 and minus 1. So if I add it up, I get 27 plus 1 is 28, and 27 minus 1 is 26. So I'm not going to multiply them to each other. I want to break them down into prime factors. So let's break down that 28. 28 is equal to 2 times 2, which is 4 times 7. That is 28. And then 26 is equal to 2 times 13. So my next step, my final step, is going to be to find like terms. I've got 2, 2, and 2. That is 2 to the power of 3 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 13. And that, dear folks, is your final answer. Question number 2, 10 to the power of 4 minus 1. We've got two brackets, plus and minus. So we've got 10 to the 2, and we've got 10 to the 2. And then we've got 1, and we've got 1. Okay, so now we're going to expand. So 10 to the 2 is going to be equal to 100 plus 1. That's our first bracket. And 100 minus 1 is our second bracket. Okay, 100 plus 1 is equal to 101, and 100 minus 1 is equal to 99. Now we are going to factorize. The factors for 101 is 101. It is a prime number. The factors for 99 is going to be 3 times 3 times 11. All right, so my final answer is going to be, I've got 3 and 3's over there, so that's going to be 3 squared multiplied by 11 multiplied by 101. Those are the prime factors of the question. Next question, 2 to the power of 12 minus 1. So this is going to give me two brackets. One's plus, one's minus. 2 to the 12 becomes 2 to the 6, 2 to the 6, and 1 remains 1. So 2 to the 6 is going to give me 64. Okay, so I've got 64 plus 1, and that's my first bracket. My second bracket is a difference of squares. So for my second bracket, I can go ahead and I say 2 to the 3 minus 1 multiplied by 2 to the 3 plus 1. So my first bracket stays the same. I've got 64 plus 1 becomes 65. 2 to the 3 is 2, 4, 8. So 8 minus 1 and 8 plus 1. So this is 65 times 8 minus 1 is 7. And 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay, so let's factorize. 65 becomes 5 times 13. 7 remains the same. And 9 is factorized as 3 times 3. So my final answer is going to be, I'm going to start with the 3's. 3 squared times 5 times 7 times 13. That's my final answer. Okay, so 3 to the power of 8 minus 1 is going to give me 2 brackets, plus and minus. That becomes 3 to the power of 4, and we've got 1 on both sides. So 3 to the power of 4 stays the same. So our second line is going to be our first bracket is 3 to the power of 4 3 to the power of 4 plus 1, and then our second bracket is a difference of squares, so I can simplify it further. That becomes 3 to the power of 2, 3 to the power of 2, and that can become plus 1 minus 1. Okay, so let's simplify. Our first one is going to be 3 to the power of 4, which is going to be 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is going to be 81. 81 plus 1. That's going to be our first bracket. Our second bracket is going to be 3 squared, which is 9 plus 1. And our third bracket is going to be 3 squared, which is 9 minus 1. So that gives me 82 times 10 times 8. Let's factorize. 82 becomes 41 times 2. And those are the prime factors of 82. And then 10 becomes 2 times 5. Those are prime factors. And 8 becomes 2 times 2 times 2. That's 8. Okay, so those are our factors. And then we put it all together. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2's. So that's 2 to the power of 5. Then I've got a 5. That's that one there. And then I've got a 41. And that is my final answer. All right, so 728 is very different. In our previous questions, they gave us 2 terms separated by a minus sign. Now they are only giving us 1 term, 1 number, no signs, nothing. So what I'm going to do is my objective is going to be to get a difference of squares, which means it must have a minus for the difference. And my second term is going to be a 1. So in order for me to say 728 is equal to something minus 1, I have to add 1 and then subtract 1 to get the same answer, right? So it's 728 is equal to 729 minus 1. I hope we're in agreement. Now 729 is a perfect square. It is 27 squared. So 27 minus 1. 27 squared minus 1. So now I can do a difference of squares, and I can say that I've got 2 brackets, and my 2 brackets are going to have a plus and a minus, and inside my 2 brackets I am going to have 27 on both sides, and I'm going to have 1 on both sides. Fairly simple. So at this point you recognize what we're doing and you are able to continue. I am going to take my first bracket and I am going to add my terms. 27 plus 1 is equal to 28. And my second bracket, 27 minus 1 is equal to 26. Now I am going to factorize and I am going to say 28 is equal to 2 times 2 times 7. And 26 is equal to 2 times 13. Now I look at like terms. 1, 2, 3, 2. So it's 2 to the power of 3 times 7 times 13. That's my final answer. Let's look at 499. So we're going to do the same thing. We want a difference of squares and we want our difference of squares to be minus 1. So if it's minus 1, I'm going to say plus 1. So 24499 plus 1 is going to be 2500. 2500. So 2500 is actually 50 squared. So I have 50 squared minus 1, and that gives me a difference of squares where I've got two brackets, plus and minus, and I've got 50 in both, and I've got 1 in both. So now I can say 50 plus 1 is 51, and 50 minus 1 is 49. Okay, so let's factorize. The factors of 51 is going to be 3 times 17. And the factors of 49 is going to be 7 times 7. Those are all prime numbers. So my final answer is going to be 3 times 7 squared, because there's 2 of them, times 17. And that is our final answer. 899, same thing. We want a difference of squares, and our difference of squares must be minus 1. So 899 plus 1 is going to be 900. 900 is 30 squared minus 1. Okay, so now I'm going to do difference of squares. So I've got two brackets, and inside my two brackets I've got plus 1 minus 1, and I've got 30 on both sides. Okay, now let's simplify. Our first bracket, 30 plus 1 is 31, and our second bracket, 30 minus 1 is 29. Okay, let's factorize. So 31 is a prime number. 29 is a prime number. So my final answer is going to be 29 multiplied by 31. Those are my prime numbers. Last question, 1599. We're going to make a difference of squares, so minus 1. So that becomes 1600. 1600 is 40 squared minus 1. Difference of squares, we've got two brackets, so we've got 40 in both sides, and we've got plus 1 and minus 1 on both sides. So 40 plus 1 is going to be 41, and 40 minus 1 is going to be 39. All right, so let's see. 41 is a prime number already, so the only one we can factorize is going to be 39. That is 3 times 13. And 41 stays the same. Okay, my color is wrong. All right, so my final answer is then going to be 3 times 13 times 41. And that's your final answer. That's how you do exercise 9. Thank you for watching. I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.